Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next episode of Women to Watch in Sales Tax. And today we're going to bring you someone that has a little bit of a different perspective than many of the women that we have talked to. So I'm thrilled to welcome Valerie Heckman, who is the Director of Business Development with LumaTax, which is one of the sales tax software companies. So Valerie, welcome.
Thank you, Diane. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
So Valerie, why don't you tell everybody what LumaTax does, who they are, and then what do you do as Director of Business Development?
Sure. So LumaTax is a sales tax software, as you mentioned, or indirect tax software. We're kind of branching out from just US sales tax alone.
Okay.
And we are optimizing all of the advisory aspects of building and growing an indirect tax practice, from consolidating client data from multiple systems and getting that cleaned up and ready to use, to automating the process of doing data analysis for things like economic and physical nexus, monitoring ongoing thresholds under Wayfair, voluntary disclosure agreements and registration preparation, contingent tax liabilities, and a lot more beyond that. And so our cloud software is really designed for accounting professionals to use in their practice, and complements advisory services that they may be offering. And my role is really to work with accounting professionals to figure out if LumaTax is a fit for their business and for what they're doing with their clients.
So is there something in the role that you've had in sales tax that you've been especially proud of that you've accomplished?
Absolutely. So I came from the accounting and payroll side of the house and joined LumaTax about a year ago after spending 10 years at Intuit QuickBooks.
Okay.
And what I think has been really exciting is taking the perspective that I learned from doing that into this sales tax workflow, because a lot of the practitioners that I encountered then were terrified of sales tax, right? They head for the hills when a client has that kind of question. And I think there's just a huge opportunity, especially post Wayfair, for accountants and advisors in any practice area to have these conversations proactively with clients, and uncover that there's a challenge, and then either try and do the basics themselves, or of course get them connected with somebody like you and your team and the people that you work with closely, who can really help them navigate the space. So one of the things that I got very involved in with my team, we're a small startup team, so we kind of all wear a lot of hats, is figure out, hey, can we narrow down the bare minimum questions that we need to ask a business owner to uncover if they might have economic nexus and physical nexus issues under Wayfair? And what would that look like? How can an accounting professional from any practice area interface with their clients, make it really easy, not send them some giant spreadsheet to fill out? And so that's been really fun to interact with our existing users, right? Our accounting professionals, some business owners, and the team as a whole to brainstorm how we can make that more collaborative.
So your role as Director of Business Development isn't a traditional sales tax role.
Sure.
But it's also one that, you know, a lot of different companies, particularly advisory firms or software companies, have to have somebody in that role. And when I think about women in sales roles, you know, I always have to really scratch my head to find a woman in that function. It's so often very male dominated. So do you have some advice for a woman that maybe wants to get into that role?
You know, I would say that probably my biggest advice to anyone entering the world of sales in relation to accounting and tax and sales tax and this profession is to really stay humble and ask a lot of questions, be very curious about what's going on, especially if you're working in like a tech company. It can be very easy to want to swoop in and say, hey, we need to transform everything you're doing here. You're doing it wrong, right? Without really understanding what's behind that and building that respect for the workflow as it is today, even if you can see the vision of making it easier on the client, making it easier on the staff person, whatever it is. And so I'd say, yeah, taking a step back to ask a lot of questions, to listen, to find resources that are out there that you can learn from. I find that our community is really, really welcoming of someone who's new and eager to learn as well. So, you know, putting your ego aside and saying, hey, I'm new to this. I know payroll. I thought sales tax was similar to payroll, but it's not. It's really not. Can you help me navigate this or better understand this topic? And I think that just coming at it with that open mind and curiosity is really important as a woman or as anyone new to this space.
Valerie, thank you so much for sharing your background with us. And thanks for being part of this community.
Thank you. Thanks for having me today.